It's a great honor for me to be here with you at to your great annual event. And I'm just sorry that I couldn't be here in person, but I did want to send you a message of solidarity and goodwill from me, Helena Kennedy, Baroness Kennedy of the Shaws. I'm a human rights lawyer. I'm known to many of you, and I certainly know your organization very well. I wanted to take this opportunity to really speak about the state of our world. There are so many terrible things happening to us, and the challenges are enormous. The challenge of climate change is a very serious one, and it will affect parts of the world like Bangladesh, seriously, but many parts of the world, from which perhaps some previous generations of your family actually had come. And the suffering will be enormous. And we should know that. And we have to therefore really think seriously about climate change and how we can play our part in persuading governments and in ourselves taking steps to reduce it. But the other challenges, of course, we've been facing COVID, and in many places in the world, they haven't had the vaccines available to them. They haven't had the treatment that at least is available here to us in the United Kingdom, and the suffering has been enormous. And pandemics will continue to confront us. I think we should expect that to happen. The other challenges, of course, are governments which really do not respect human rights. And we've seen incredible persecution of Muslims around the world. I know from my own experience, because of my work in human rights, my work in Parliament, and my work heading up the International Bar Association's Institute of Human Rights. And terrible things have been happening to Muslims in China, to the Uyghur, what I have described as being a genocide. And as a result, the Chinese government have put me on a sanctions list, so I can't travel to China or Hong Kong or any place where they have their control. But I'm not going to suffer the consequence of that, but the Uyghur people are suffering huge consequences just for being Muslim and wanting to maintain their difference, their religion, their cultural heritage. And what we know from the evidence is that the mosques have been destroyed, burial grounds have been destroyed, people are in camps, women are being forced to have abortions and to surrender their children to go to schools, which are basically like borstals, where they're going to be forced to surrender their ethnicity, their culture, and their religion. And so we should be really conscious of the terrible things that are happening to Muslims in the world, to the Rohingya, where the people have been forced to flee because of mass killings and rape of the women, and it's been a tragedy. That, of course, has meant many of them have gone to parts of Bangladesh to settle in squalid camps. We have the horror of what has been happening in parts of India now under the Modi government, with what's been happening in Kashmir and the suffering there, but also the attacks upon Muslims' rights, removal of citizenship, and making it almost impossible for many of the people, for example, in Assam, to claim citizenship. And that attack on citizenship isn't just happening in other parts of the world. We're seeing it happening here, where, not surprisingly, the Muslim community is feeling somewhat beleaguered, because many of the Muslim community in the United Kingdom are second, perhaps even third generation Muslims, but they worry as to whether they're really not second class citizens, because it's possible for government to take away your citizenship and to say, well, your parents came from Bangladesh, you can claim citizenship there, therefore we're going to remove your British citizenship. And the fact that you're even at risk of that puts people in fear. And so it was really heartening to see the court deciding in this week that to do that without giving notice to the person so they can appeal and contest it through the courts, that this is an affront to human rights. And we've also seen terrible things happening still to the Palestinians in the way that their human rights and their right to self-determination is not being respected. So um, human rights around the world matter. And I want to say to you, as the Muslim community here in the United Kingdom, it's important that your voices are heard on this. But it also means that you have to speak out where you see human rights being, rolled over by nations which are seen as being Islamic nations, but which are also doing bad things to people. And so you have to be critical of the ways in which places that claim, their religion as being Islam, and yet doing terrible things to people, and not treating people as are all being part of humankind. That what we have to do is respect each other's humanness, the fact that we are all have a shared humanity, and to respect that humanity in each other and the dignity that should come with that. And I'm afraid that terrible things are happening. I've just been involved in trying to get out of Afghanistan people who've had their lives threatened by the Taliban, who are coming in and not wanting, whatever they're saying, not wanting women to take part in public life and to hold public positions, to be part of the judiciary, and the legal profession, as I am. And I want that. I want that for my Muslim sisters-in-law. I want them to be able to practice, and I want them to be able to protect the rights of fellow citizens, and particularly of women, especially when they face violence and they face terrible detriments in their life. So we really have to always speak out, even when it's our own folk who might be not behaving well enough to the other. And so I've come today because this is an opportunity to say how much I respect and admire the Muslim tradition, and it's wonderful that the Muslim Council of Great Britain is doing so much that's good in this country. And I send you my best wishes for today, and I hope this is a great success. Thank you.